Where on earth? Aha, that's right. I'm in Tallinn. And I decided today to leave the hostel, turn right, cross the road, come over onto the side where the tram line runs. If you follow the tram line pretty much all the way, it's very convenient if you want to reach either the train station or the TELLISKIVI area. TELLISKIVI, the new creative city, as it likes to be called. Or it's billed that way by some smart guy on the city council. We're going to head towards TELLISKIVI shortly, but first I'm just going to point out, as we're leaving the hostel behind us, just a couple of 100 metres, if you were to go up here and cross the road straight ahead, you'd find yourself at a wine store and also possibly my favourite Rimi supermarket. Very, very convenient if you're wanting to buy your own food and prepare it in the kitchen at the hostel. You can't miss Rimi, just next to the wine store and the petrol station. But today we have something else on our mind. We're taking a very wide sweep around the old town. We did something similar a few days ago and paid closer attention to the towers and the defensive fortification wall, and ended up going up into Toompea, right up at the top, to see where the original location of the early settlement was, which now houses the Estonian Parliament building. And of course there was the onion-domed Russian cathedral, as well as other churches and the viewing platforms. But this time round we're going to do a wider sweep and end up around the back of the train station. But first I wanted to dip into this area, this little district to my right, which is called Kalamaja. I haven't walked around here for some while, so I'm not sure entirely of what we're going to see. You'll get a flavour of the little wooden houses, the old style architecture, which perhaps isn't that unique and special for many folk, but it's a feature of the old 19th century look of Kalamaja, former fishing community. It became run down, then became a cool place for people to move in, a little bit on the bohemian side in places, largely because people of an artistic nature generally don't have enough money to afford to live in glamorous accommodation. But as the area became cool, of course, other people moved in, prices went up, the original cool atmosphere for the artists diminished, and they moved out and headed over towards, in some cases, the next district along, which is TELLISKIVI, or perhaps chance their arm down in Copley. I did see some nice street art some years ago when I was around this area-ish, but of course where it was precisely escapes me. So we may be on a bit of a fool's errand, but that said, there's always the attraction of the old buildings and wooden villas. They retain their appeal and make it worthwhile to have a little walk. The wind's getting up this morning, so hopefully it won't affect the audio too much. And I can't imagine having entrances to semi-underground apartments when there's thick snow and ice around in the winter time. I just don't know how that works at all. You must need a good shovel. Well, I did mention some street art, didn't I? Fritz Kohler Kovic Waffel. Oh, I'm getting excited. I'm getting excited. I know I shouldn't. Oh. I really thought it was going to be one of those occasions where I just couldn't get a proper view of what the image was. But just look at this. And for a lot of people watching, they probably think, that's not very exciting. But for anybody who likes to see big paintings, mosaics, any kind of art in any of its forms in city spaces on the side of buildings like this, which are so pitifully grey and dull otherwise, it's, dare I say it, it's joyous. It's absolutely a joyous treat to see that. How miserable the front of the building is by comparison. And just across the road we've got an old Soviet era sauna by the looks of things. And the entrance to a small theatre to the right hand side. There's a Harley Davidson on the other side of this narrow street, and whether you like such things or not, you've got to say it really is eye-catching, isn't it? So I had to stop for a moment and just capture that image. Still following the tram line over on the left, having taken a detour into Kalamaja, slight detour. Now back on track, and having previously walked around Kalamaja, to be frank, there isn't a great deal to capture on your video camera. Not these days. It's already transformed into a sort of family friendly, little bit staid sort of neighbourhood. Nothing wrong with that, of course, if you're wanting a nice quiet life. But if you're hungry to see some quirky things, artistic things, colourful things, and to get some surprises, it's no longer the neighbourhood that's likely to do that. Whereas just maybe the next little district we walk into, TELLISKIVI, will provide us with some nice treats. Again, I'll just step across the road with some caution. Here we've probably walked about 15 minutes away from the hostel. So if you are staying at Fat Margaret's and you're wanting to know, oh, where can I go for an interesting, nice spot to eat? Just up ahead, actually on the right hand side, there is a selection of bars and also cafes and restaurants. One restaurant in particular, F. Huna, comes highly recommended. And under normal circumstances, if you're on foot, you can walk easily across the road and find a Circle K, like a 7-Eleven, a Burger King, get access to the train station. But as you can see, to my surprise, there are some roadworks going on. So let's pay attention to what's over on the right hand side these days. We've got Asian Cafe, a tattoo and gift shop, living room bar, and something else bar, mojito bar, it is still possible to get across to the trains. Luckily, if you wanted to, just going that way. And if we carried on round that way, we would see a few more places to grab a bite to eat. But while we're here, might as well take a little dip into the latest version of what people fondly would call the site the Old Russian Market. But sadly, or not sadly, the Old Russian Market is a thing of the past now. And it's been replaced by a very large scale modern complex. Just get a little bit more of a view of those trains, because I know some people like me might enjoy, I wouldn't say train spotting, that would be nerdy, wouldn't it? But seeing some trains. Let's go for a little walk through the open air part of the market. If you want what appears to be fresh fruit and vegetables. And this is immediately next door to a large indoor area which houses a whole host of more cafes, restaurants and eateries. But there are sort of bijou little, almost like converted containers, but they're not. Specialist shops for your interest in sweet meats, sausage meats, cheeses, alternative clothing. Oh, I'm in trouble if I get too close to that one. That's the chocolate speciality shop. Here's an interesting little place, Umami. I'm not sure if it's still as useful as it used to be for expats or tourists who've been away from the UK for some time, but it used to house a selection of products which you can't normally get outside of the UK, which was very handy. And they even had an order service if you were desperate to get your teeth into some Marmite, as an example. And they've also got some Far East Asian cracker crisp seaweed type snacks as well as lots of other things. I'm just going to pop my nose inside to see what they do have. So again, to not upset the proprietor, just in case she's not keen on the camera, I think I'll switch it off and report back to you on my success or otherwise.